Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, depending on what time of day you're watching this video presentation. And my name is Steve Nightingale, and I'll be supervising this project entitled Oil for All, and this is an acronym for Optimum Independent Living for Adults in Later Life. As you all have had a chance to read all the briefs that have been handed out, I wrote a brief of about a page and a half which describes what this particular project is, and I'll run through some of the key details of it. I'll be supervising two teams of 6 people in each team, together with an academic from the university, but I don't actually know who that is just yet, but I will by the time we start. So the problem we're looking at is the fact that the average age of the population in most countries is increasing, and there's been a significant increase in the higher age ranges where people are not working or are retired. And if we look at some of the government information that's published, it shows that in Japan, 31% of their population will be over 65, and 13% are over 80 in 10 years' time. And predictions for the UK show figures of 22% and 7% respectively. And this has significant implications for housing and for health and social care. And the cost of care for those not working or those who are retired is significant. And many people won't have or don't have currently sufficient funds, sufficient income to support their needs while they are alive. And this is a problem that's getting progressively more of an issue as time goes by. And so that's part of what this project is about. What I've shown in these two plots here are figures extracted from the government website, where I'm showing the percentage of people who are over 65 from 2020 to 2050, and also the percentage of people in the total population that are over 80. And you can see, as I mentioned, Japan leads here, followed by Italy and Germany. And then I've also shown the UK, which is further down in the list. One of the other issues that we have is that many people are in the pension of poverty, as it's described. And this graph shows the proportional percentage of people that are in pensioner poverty. And pensioner poverty is defined as households with an income of less than 60% of the median for the UK. And the median for the UK is 32,000. So this corresponds to people who have an income of less than 19,200 for last year. I don't have the figures for this year. They'll probably be slightly higher. Now, that's not a lot of money, and there will be people who have much less than that. And if you take a typical pension, if all you're receiving is the state pension, you'll be getting between 13,500 and 14,500, plus maybe some benefits. And that doesn't actually go terribly far. So the project is to investigate and recommend engineering and technological approaches to help our adults live independently as they become older. And what we're talking about here is helping people live independently initially in the house that they're living in, probably the house that they bought when they were working. And then as they become older and need more care, then they're moving into a care home or residential home. And it may be that they need to have some kind of additional care as they get older and are not able to properly look after themselves. So you need to consider the cost of your proposed solutions, and also bear in mind that you're dealing with people here, and that a significant issue with elderly people is loneliness. And what happens with many people who have the fortune or misfortune, depending on how you look at it, to live a long time, they can find that if they're in their 80s, that many of their friends have died. And I can remember, for example, a grandmother of mine who lived to a ripe old age. I think she actually died in a care home when she was 92. But when she was in her 80s, My wife and I used to visit her once a year and have a good chat and enjoy some of her home cooking. And then when we left, we would say, well, see you about the same time next year, Grandma. And she'd say, oh, I hope not. I've lived long enough. And it was a joke, of course, but there's a certain serious side to it, because many of her friends had just died, and it's not easy to make other friends when you get older because there aren't the opportunities. So there are a number of solutions I'm sure we can all think about to this problem. One is electronic delivery of food, drink and medicines, so this can be put into a hatch whereby the person delivering has access to the hatch so no one else can get into it. Monitors to look for windows that are left open, gas and electric equipment on, etc. Movement monitors, such as pressure pads on the floor, so you know someone hasn't fallen down or they're unconscious. And of course, you can have a simple solution to this in terms of pressure pads. You could also use something like a passive infrared or radar sensor. Need to bear in mind what's the most cost-effective solution, not necessarily the most technologically advanced. There's monitoring people's health in terms of blood pressure, heart rate, blood sugar level, mobility level, etc. Robotic cleaners. And then, of course, pursuing that somewhat further, bearing in mind the fact that you are dealing with people, many of whom are lonely, intelligent robots with, say, voice recognition and synthesis using AI to help with people who are lonely. Now, what I'm showing here is it's a picture of some equipment that's been developed by a Japanese company called Toppen. And Japan, as I mentioned earlier on, has the biggest problem in terms of a very large proportion of its population being over 65 and over 80. And so they've spent quite a bit of time in developing robots that can be, if you like, your friend, and they can fetch and carry for you and this kind of thing. So this is something else to be looking at. They have gone some way down the road in terms of trialing these things with normal people, etc. So this gives you some sort of idea as to what the project is about, and we can obviously discuss any particular questions you may have when we first meet. So that's the project. Now, in terms of preparation for the MDDP, Roger Webb will be going through with you what the project is about. And the key things, I guess, that he's going to mention is, first of all, how we try and organise this project is that people in any particular group don't know one another that well, and they're from different disciplines. So it reflects what might be the case when you go and work for a company when you leave university. And of course, it's generally the case that you won't have the opportunity to choose who you work with, and you may find you get on very well. You may find there are one or two that you don't get on with very well, but that's just how life is. And what happens on this project is each week we meet, and one person will chair the meeting, another will take minutes, and the following week the person who took the minutes will chair the meeting, and so this continues. So you all have a chance. Don't be concerned about the fact you may not have had much experience in chairing or writing minutes. I will send some notes out about this, but you can also go and look in the library to see what there is. After the inception report, we give you feedback on that. And then there is a main report which has a technical aspect to it and a financial aspect. And you submit the report. You also have to prepare a poster as if you're attending a trade show to talk about what you are doing on the project. You have to give a presentation of 15 minutes with up to 5 minutes questions. And then we finish off the following day with a viva. So that gives you an idea as to what it's about. You'll learn a lot on the project. I've always learned a lot on all the projects I've been on. And in some cases, you'll come up with ideas and something that the supervisors, i.e. my academic colleague and me, haven't heard about. So that makes it interesting. Now, what I suggest you do is not just do an online search, but also look in the library. I suggest too that while this project is running, if you're not already doing this, that you read the technology sections of quality newspapers, and that you also look at the house journals of different professional organisations, and I've given some examples down there, because that gives you a good idea as to what new technology is coming along. So I think that's really about it for now. Roger Webb will tell you all about the project next Monday, and we will all meet together the following Monday. The meetings are an hour per group, 5 to 6 and 6 to 7, and we alternate the groups each week. But the first Monday after Roger's presentation, when we meet, I want us all to meet together, because there are a number of things I want to go through with you before we actually really get started on the project in earnest. So I'll deal with all your questions then, and when I know who you are, I will email you notes I've written on chairing meetings and taking minutes and things like that. So thank you very much, and I look forward to seeing 2 teams of 6 in the future. Thank you very much. Bye.